"Hi. My name is Gertrude," said the lady next to him on the plane. "It's so nice to meet you. I'm flying to New York for my grandson's 3rd birthday. I'm so excited. I remember when he was just a little thumbkin, and now he's already 3. It's really hard to believe. He's the most adorable thing you've ever seen. You know what? Hold on, I think I might have a picture of me. Let me take a look in my purse. Yes, here it is. Just look at him. Isn't he adorable? Do you see his dimple on his left cheek? Simply adorable. I could stare at his picture all day. Oh my, and you should hear him on the phone. He is just the cutest. He says to me in the cutest voice, 'Hi, Grandma.' It just gets me all teary-eyed." After what seemed like 2 hours for the poor man sitting next to her, Gertrude seemed to realize that perhaps she was talking a bit too much. "You know, I feel terrible. Here I am just talking and talking without letting you get in a word edgewise. Tell me, what do you think about my grandson?" A huge airplane, full of passengers, had just taken off when a 5-year-old bad-behaved boy created havoc by yelling and crying out loud. Despite his mother's efforts, the boy could calm down. The passengers, obviously frustrated, gossiped about it, and some mentioned the heroic way for salvation, but they still managed to get through the torture by staying calm and noble. The boy, though, had no plans to ease up with his attitude. In fact, he gets worse. Starts screaming, swearing and spitting all around the plane. People got desperate. Suddenly, an old man stands up and walks towards the little boy with a slow but majestic walk. He was wearing an Air Force general costume with badges and medals all over his suit jacket. He nudges at the mother so she can stop trying all of her hopeless efforts to quiet the boy, and then kindly bends over and whispers something to the boy's ear. The child immediately stops, takes his seat and fastens his seatbelt. The man went back to his seat with the same confidence, while the whole plane admired his achievement. "Excuse me, Mr. General, but what did you say to that child and make him quiet?" a lady wondered. "I showed him my medals, ma'am, and told him that I've won them on the battlefield and that those medals give me the right to take a passenger off the plane on any flight I feel like, only once a year, and then I mentioned that this year. I haven't picked one yet." 3 old friends meet each other unexpectedly in Paris. Since they haven't seen each other in decades, they decide to celebrate by going out. They decided that they would go to the Eiffel Tower. When they arrived, there was a guard there next to a sign that read, "If you can drop your watch from the top of the Eiffel Tower, run all the way down the stairs, and catch it on the floor, you will win $10 million. The men decided to try it. The first one went up, dropped his watch, sprinted all the way down, and looked up, but his watch wasn't there, so he looked down, and there was his watch, shattered into pieces of gear and parts. Impossible, he said to his friends. The second man thought that maybe he was too slow, so he went up, dropped his watch, then practically jumped down the steps and looked up, but it wasn't there. He looked down, and the remains of his watch were right next to his friend's watch. Impossible, he said to the third man. But the third man tried anyway. He went up, dropped his watch, then took his time going down, taking 25 minutes to get down the steps. When he finally went down, he looked at the local clock and waited 5 minutes, then looked up and caught his watch. Everyone was shocked, and as the guard was counting up the money, he asked, "How did you do that?" The man looked at him and replied, "My watch is 30 minutes late." A couple in their 90s were having trouble remembering things, so they went to their doctor for checkups. The doctor told them that they were both physically fine and advised them to write things down to help them remember. Later that evening, while watching television, the husband got up from his chair to go to the kitchen for a snack. He asked his wife if she wanted anything. "Could you bring me a bowl of ice cream?" she asked. "Sure," he replied. "Do you think you should write that down to remember it?" she asked. No, I can remember that, he said. I'd like some strawberries on it, too. Do you need to write that down? She said. No, I can remember that, too. Ice cream with strawberries, he said, becoming a little irritated. I'd like some whipped cream on it, too. Can you remember all that? The doctor said you should write things down, she said. For goodness sakes, I can remember that. I don't need to write it down. A bowl of ice cream with strawberries and whipped cream, he said, now more than a little irritated. Off he went to the kitchen. About 20 minutes later, he returned with a plate of bacon and eggs. The wife stared at it for a moment and said, "Where's my toast?" An old lady was very upset, as her husband Albert had just passed away. She went to the undertaker's to have one last look at her dearly departed husband. The instant she saw him, she started crying. The mortician walked over to comfort her. Through her tears, she explained that she was upset because her dearest Albert was wearing a black suit, and it was his fervent wish to be buried in a blue suit. The mortician apologized and explained that traditionally they always put bodies in a black suit, but he'd see what he could arrange. The next day, she returned to the funeral parlor to have one last moment with Albert before the funeral the following day. When the mortician pulled back the curtain, she managed a smile through her tears as Albert was resplendent in a smart blue suit. She said to the mortician, "Wonderful, wonderful, but where did you get that beautiful suit?" "Well, yesterday afternoon, after you left, a man about your husband's size was brought in, and he was wearing a blue suit," the mortician replied. His wife was quite upset because she wanted him buried in the traditional black suit. Albert's wife smiled at the undertaker. After that, he continued, "It was just a matter of swapping the heads." A couple of senior couples were strolling along, wives in front and husbands in back, chatting. Bernie turns to Marv and says, "You know, we went to a new restaurant last night and had the best meal ever. Great prices, too." Marv smiles and says, "Well, we like to eat out too. So what was the name of this fine new eatery?" Bernie says, "You're going to have to help me out here a little. What's the name of that pretty flower that smells sweet, often red, and grows on a thorny bush?" Marv grins again. "Well now, Bernie, it sounds like a rose to me." Yes, that's it," cries Bernie, then he calls ahead to his wife. "Rose. Rose, honey, what was the name of that little restaurant we ate at last night?" An elderly couple was driving across the country. While the woman was behind the wheel, the couple was pulled over by the highway patrol. "Ma'am, did you know you were speeding?" the officer said. The woman, hard of hearing, turned to her husband and asked, "What did he say?" "He said you were speeding," the old man yelled. The patrolman then asked, "May I see your license?" The woman turned to her husband again and asked, "What did he say?" The old man yelled back, "He wants to see your license." The woman then gave the officer her license. "I see you are from Arkansas," the patrolman said. "I spent some time there once and went on a blind date with the ugliest woman I've ever seen." The woman turned to her husband again and asked, "What did he say?" The old man replied, "He said he knows you." Once upon a time, there were 3 friends playing on a beach. One kid's parents were good business people. The second kid lives in a good family where he is taught to respect his elders. The third kid was a poor redneck with an abusive father. Anyway, they were playing on the beach when a helicopter crashed down into the water. They saw a man drowning, and they all raced to save him. As they pulled the man to shore, they realized it was Obama. The president then said, "Thank you, kids, for saving me. I'll give you each one a wish." The first kid said he wanted a helicopter. The second kid wished for some money. And the redneck asked for a wheelchair. Obama, concerned, asked why the poor boy wouldn't want some money for his family. The kid replied, "'Cause when Pap finds out what I've done, I ain't going to be walking for a pretty long time,